everybody.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to
Good
Health,
morning.
Wealth, and Relationships. We got Tisa and
Hey,
myself,
Diane.
and talk to us about what we're talking about today.
Well, you just jumping right in. Can we say happy April
I
first,
guess
second,
so. Late
April 2nd?
April Fool's Day. Are we late? Are we late?
What?
No.
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's April 2nd, but we are in the spring. We are in the spring of things. And so, yes, I just want to say happy April. April's my birthday month. So we don't never just
Hey.
jump into April while saying happy April. Taurus season, Aries season is in the air. So,
That's
yes,
right.
hallelujah. So, yes, today is April 2nd, and we're going to talk about alcohol today. So, one of the things
Alcohol.
of April is Alcohol Awareness Month. It's Autism Awareness Month. We're going to talk about a little bit of autism this month. We're going to do a little bit of cancer prevention this month. And so, those are some of our April topics that we got coming. But today, it's all about the alcohol.
I had no idea that there was a month dedicated to alcohol.
There is a
Like
month
this.
for everything. There is absolutely
Now
a
we
month
know.
for
Now you
everything.
know, right?
Yes. But I'm glad that they have one for alcohol. This is really an important issue. You know, it's an important issue. And I just want to say from the beginning, this is a no judgment zone, right? This is a no judgment zone. Alcohol touches all of us. We all know people who drink. We don't drink ourselves. We know people who drink, and we know people who, may have suffered from alcoholism or, that type of disease. And so we just want to make sure that we know that this is a judgment-free zone, and really take some self-awareness and just think about where you are in terms of your alcohol usage. That's all we're trying to do, is bring awareness and help you see, get a gauge for yourself in terms of that, because it can be real detrimental. So first of all, of course, alcohol, it affects all facets of your life: health, wealth, and relationships, right?
True.
And so in terms of your health, it directly affects your body, right? I don't know. Everybody knows this. If anybody's ever had a hangover, anybody's ever had a hangover or two or three. I have had hangers over my life, and it's so funny
They got
because
movies out on hangovers. You're talking about
that's
people
true,
have touched on that
true.
for sure.
I know you can't really see this too well in our chart, but it does really affect your body. You feel really bad the next day because of a reason. The alcohol is really a poison to us, and if we get too much of it, your body is like, no. It really affects it negatively, and specifically our body. It affects our liver. We know that, right? Everybody who has to get, a lot of alcoholics have liver transplants. They have to get liver transplant. It just really affects your liver. You lead your liver. Liver is your filter, right? Your liver, your kidneys are your filter, and so you gotta have good livers, right? And so take care of your liver. Your brain. You think about that?
Yeah, no,
Like
I think
alcohol
about
affects
it
the
every
brain.
time I wake up with a hangover. My brain hurts.
True. True, but it really affects the brain on a cellular level, and it just like hormones, it affects your hormones. So you don't think about those things. You'll be thinking, your brain, yeah, you got a headache, but it affects your hormones on a whole different level. So when you talk about your hormones, that's your makeup. That's how things are really developing in your body. So when you think about your hormones, that you got to really think, damn, it affects deep. It affects you really deep,
Now,
right?
you talking about emotion? You say hormones. Is that emotions or is it not? Is it the same or?
It's some of your emotions. Yes, it does. It triggers some bad things in your emotions. So when you think about drinking, so when you think about people who drink, let's think about that. So you know that they are happy drunks, right?
Yeah.
So like people react differently to alcohol. Some people, the hormones go really high, and you're a happy drunk. You want to play, you want to just joke around, you're just the life of the party, right? That's a hormone, triggering some hormones in your body that are making you happy, giddy, whatever. But then on the opposite spectrum of that, there are what?
Oh, yeah. There's angry drunks.
Angry
Right?
drunks, mean drunks. You ever know people who, when they get drunk, they want to just fight?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like they're not even fighters, or that's not their personality
Not the
on a
normal
normal
self.
time.
Right. Yeah.
But they get drunk and they swinging at everybody, especially in college. I noticed that a lot with people in college. Like they drink, but all of a sudden they fight, and it's like, what the?
over nothing. Usually just sets them off, and or they got some deep seated issues or whatever, and then it comes out. I call it
Oh,
liquid
the
courage.
truth
Everybody gets
serum.
some liquid courage, and then they want to show out.
And that liquid courage is real. So again, on a hormone level, it makes you it's like a truth serum, right? When people get drunk, they really say what's deep down in them. It gives them that liquid courage to fight, be happy, or whatever, but also to release information that they probably would never tell you unless they was full of that liquid courage.
Right.
So that's how it just affects your brain, right? That's your brain. That's like saying, okay, I'm good enough now. I'm going to tell this person I can't stand them, or I love you too much, or whatever. Now in college, let me tell you, the Caucasian girls, it was so funny. And I don't know if it's a Caucasian girl thing, but they really loved me when we got full of alcohol. We got drunk. Okay. It was like, I love you. I love you. I love you. I want to touch you. I want to touch you, love you. I want to love you, touch you. And it's just like, you know what? I don't know what this is. This is a personal experience.
Right.
I don't know what it is. 4 years of college, 4 years of this. So I think it gives them some real liquid courage. And maybe that's what they were thinking all along. Like, she's so pretty. I just want to touch her and I love her. I don't know. But it was a thing. It was a thing. So
yeah, I think alcohol makes you, well, I said, it give you, it's a bet. You get some bravery, right? And and it makes you do things that you, out of character, that you normally would not do. It releases your inhibitions, I guess what they would call it, right?
Yeah.
When you have too much, it's all about moderation. But when you go over that other, like I said, the blood alcohol content in your body, and then all of a sudden it triggers all kinds of stuff. I'm glad you brought up I didn't even think of it as a hormone, but the emotional roller coasters that I've seen people on, there is no doubt about that.
Yeah. It definitely tweaks everything. So the biggest thing that I want to make sure people know now, that it is a big cancer risk, right? So being a breast cancer survivor, you pay attention to the news. I'm a person of better, you do better. I think God wants us to, and so as I get more information over the years, 5, 6, 10 years ago, it was just okay to have a couple of drinks a night or a drink a night. And then you start hearing, I'm a bit Good Morning America, and they are good about statistics and having doctors on and professionals on. And so I pay attention to the doctors, and they're like, over the years have come down on that amount that you can have before, it's safe, a safe amount to drink. And so we're down to basically, y'all just don't drink alcohol. I mean, you pay attention. It was like, a glass of wine a night, a couple glasses a week. Just a half a glass, or, equivalent to 2 drinks for a man. They had all broke down into like how many for women, how many for men. Now they're basically saying, in moderation, it's at your own risk, type of thing. It's just no good amount that they're recommending right now. And so,
let me tell you, I got a stat for that this might floor a lot of people, that especially, and this pertains to African Americans, right? So in 2024, about 14 million Black adults, 18 and over, right? They reported drinking in the past month. So let's talk about, March, let's talk about February, let's talk about January, that 45%, which is about 7 million Black adults, reported binge drinking in the past month. That means you're not just having a casual drink, you're binge drinking, which is heavy
and let's
alcohol.
Define binge drinking. Let's define people think binge. Okay, so some people think they're weekend drinkers. That's kind of a binge drinker. Binge drinking is when you save it up all for one time and you just go all out, right? Like you are, it might be a whole weekend, it might be a whole day, it might be, a 24-hour period. But anything that's a long term is a binge, right? And so even if you don't drink all during the week and you do it for the weekend, it's still a binge. And so most people binge drink. I used to only drink on Fridays. I take that back. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Truth serum.
Hot coffee, truth time. Okay, I used to only drink heavily on Fridays, and I think that probably was a binge. I think that was a binge. I mean, because that's when I got toe up. Like, not toe up, but that's when I say I got drunk. I would get drunk on Fridays. If you get drunk, then you're probably on a binge. And
no, it's about being honest with yourself. And I know when I got back from St. Croix recently, I slowed down a lot because I was drinking. I had got to a point where I had low tolerance. I would drink where I normally would drink and not feel anything. And I was like, wow, I don't even feel a buzz or anything like that. So I think I'm over indulging in my drinking, and I've got to slow that down.
Right.
So that's some self-regulation, right?
And that's good. You have good self-regulations, Grant. I can tell you that. He knows when it's like his body, and he listens to his body, right? You have to listen to your body. If it's saying like stop it, like right now, I have a hiatal hernia. I've had it since 2021. I was just sharing with Grant. Sometimes alcohol just sets it off. It does not like it, and I'll be fine as long as I don't have a certain drink, or like if I go to a bar. When you go to a bar or a restaurant, you don't know what kind of alcohol you're getting. You can say you want this or that, but you don't really know what's in those bottles back there. They could be watered down. They could be something totally different. Same color, whatever. Cheaper, So, but I've noticed that some alcoholic drinks will set my little pain or hernia off, and I'll have stomach aches in the mornings for like a week. So I'm on one of those things right now. I don't know what set it off. I haven't had a drink in a week, but it's hurting. I was a struggle this morning, y'all. It was a struggle. But it does that. It'll just irritate my bowels. It'll irritate my stomach to the point where I'm cramping every morning. So I'm looking at really, so I'm doing a no. So my birthday is on the 27th, y'all. And, I try to party the whole month. So what we might be doing is partying from the 27th to the 27th of May, because I'm trying to do no alcohol for a couple of weeks, so I can, safely indulge when I go to Miami on the 20th. And the 23rd will be in Jamaica. And so the 27th will be coming back. So I'm trying to pace myself, y'all. I'm trying to pace myself.
You got to do that. Let me give you another interesting, because you brought up the health segment. This is something that really kind of floored me, that as far as alcohol, and it plays a role in your health. They're saying that more than 200 diseases, injuries, and health conditions are directly related to alcohol. And when it comes to liver disease deaths, they're talking about there's about 100,000 people die because of liver disease. Over half of that is because of alcohol.
Yep.
So that's the third leading preventable cause of cancer in the United States. We're talking about, I think of the 100,000 cancer-related deaths, 20,000 were attributed to alcohol abuse and things like that. So we got to pay attention to these numbers of the cause. What are the causes of some of these things in cancer? I know you're a big promoter on cancer, but if you abuse a lot of alcohol, it can lead to so many other diseases and injuries and health conditions that we don't always, pull those two things together.
Absolutely. It's just information. The government's not going to give you this information. This is just another thing that they have been making money on for years, right? So they're not going to say, hey, alcohol ain't good for y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to back up that consumption, back up that buying, that purchase. We got a picture of buying alcohol. It's a moneymaker again. So, but let's realize they have also been almost mandated to put how bad alcohol is for you on bottles now. So just like cigarettes have, this can cause cancer, they're now asking to require that to be put on alcohol. So it's bad if we got to label it, right?
Yep.
If we got to call it out, because now it's like people can sue you because they know how bad it is. So long as they put it on there somewhere in that fine, tiny print that this could cause cancer, they're doing their job, but they're not going to stop selling it. It's up to you to decide what's good for you and what's not good for you. So no judgment. I'm going to not do alcohol the rest of the month until I get down to Jamaica, or maybe the 20th or whatever. So key takeaways for the health is alcohol affects every system in your body. Mm-hmm. It goes through your blood. So that means it's going from your brain to your liver, to your kidneys, to all of that. And all into a hormonal level, where it can change the makeup of your genes, but also your behavior. And you got to remember that. Even small amounts carry risk. So like I said, they used to tell you 2 drinks, then it was 1 drink. Now they're going to no drinks. Even a small amount carries risk. So people say, I just drink a little bit. I just drink my wine. Just know it almost carries the same risk as drinking a lot.
I didn't even know that.
It's still going in your system. Yep. And awareness first is the step to healing. So now that this is all about bringing awareness to the dangers of alcohol. You're going to do what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm still have my drinks when I start partying and celebrating. So it's decisions. And so just be aware of the information. And that's all we're here to do, is give you the information so people can make the best decision for you in terms of alcohol.
Well, to your point, we said earlier, you got to watch the signs in your own body. I made a decision myself to kind of slow down here in 2026, just because I felt it, and so I was like, all right, I need to slow this down. And then I've learned how to have fun without alcohol. Like, hey, you don't always have to have an alcoholic drink when you can still go out. You can still have fun. You were talking earlier, instead of that cocktail, why don't you get a mocktail?
Get a mocktail. And that's the thing. Mocktails are out there now. So look for those places. Now, and then let's talk about that. Hey, when you're talking about going out, because that affects your pocket, right?
Yeah.
And so you might be saving some money if you're not out there drinking, because it does cost, and drinks are going up. Hey, every time I look around, drinks are used to be $5 to $10 now, right? So, it's affect your pocket. So let's talk about that a little bit, Grant, in terms of the wealth piece of alcohol.
We always talk about health, wealth, and relationships. So, when you go out, everybody likes to go out. A lot of people do. You go out to dinner, right? When you go out to dinner, if you really watch, like when you get your entree, perhaps you get appetizer, but if you start ordering drinks, like if I have 2 drinks and let's say Tisa's with me, she has 2 drinks, and now you got 4 drinks, half of that bill is going to be the alcohol. Like, whoa, So one thing I learned is like, you know what? Why don't you we'll just have water during drinks. That way it doesn't keep the bill down. You can always drink later, or you can have 1 drink. Just be aware that the alcohol consumption, that's why they always like, would you like something to drink? They start out with that immediately because they know you're going to eat. But they just, hey, this is going to tack on to the bill and the tip and everything else, because alcohol at $12 a drink, that's $50 right there.
Right so there. $12. Yeah, they passed the $10. See, I don't really buy
it's $12, $15 a drink. We're gonna be on South Beach pretty soon. You're gonna see that $20 drink. That's just how they make money, But you got to be aware of that. When you're aware of that, then you're like, all right, let me understand where that bill is really coming from. But here's some stats that people kind of sleep on, right? It's a headline stat, right? So alcohol misuse cost the U.S. $249 billion. That's what $1 billion in 1 year. And that's the national estimate. And 3/4 of that cost was linked to binge drinking, like we just talked about. That was linked to binge drinking. So the CDC says that 72% of the total cost came from lost labor, because you're not going to work, because you're
right. People calling in. Look, the hangover is real.
You ain't gonna be worth nothing if you go to work anywhere. You bloodshot eyes. You're just not ready for the real deal, right?
No.
And your work performance is going to go down. And then the rest of that is just your health care. Obviously, people, you hear about this almost all the time when people have alcoholic, crashes. You see the signs that go out during holidays and things like that. Like, hey, be aware of that, because some people just lose control. So there's a lot of property damage, and then obviously you end up in court. So there's criminal justice, there's all kinds. Your insurance is out of control.
You end up in court because you get DWIs, your license get taken, you can kill somebody, and that DWI stuff stays with you. They don't. That's real. They have thrown the book at alcoholic people driving. Don't drink and drive, because it's going to cost you
a lot.
Talk about a lot. Money,
and it's not just the one time, short term. To your point,
it's just not worth it.
Insurance rates are going to stay high for a long period of time. One thing, when you talked about this in a past episode, and this is so true, because I went to go get more life insurance, and when you do that, especially in Florida, I'm not so the same in Nebraska, but they do a test. They come to your house. They tell you, oh yeah, you don't use alcohol, you don't use cigarettes. Okay, fine. We're going to come out and we're going to test you. And if they see that your alcohol consumption in your blood, because it's in your blood, right? It's in your blood. They can tell, like, oh, well, you've been drinking a lot more than you think, because it's there.
Right. That's surprising when you told me that they come out and actually test you. They ain't taking your word for it, right? They're like,
No,
oh, you
no.
don't smoke, let me make blow into this or whatever, test your hair. But they're
It's a
giving
risk
blood
factor.
tests.
They're going to
You can't
ensure
even-
you. They say, you know what, you're a good risk. You're going to probably live longer. But if you're using alcohol and you're using tobacco products, they know statistically that you could die earlier, or you can have accidents. All kinds of other stuff goes on, but it's a detriment. So you need to be aware of these things all around. But it's alcohol and it's alcohol abuse. Everybody has a certain level of, well, what is the abuse? Some people just drink every now and then. Maybe it's a holiday, or they socially drink. So it's not. Then some people drink all the time because they that's how they relax and they settle down. But it's having an effect on your health.
It's definitely a cultural thing, right?
Wealth. Yeah,
it's definitely a cultural thing. People just have that after dinner drink, or just because you're out to dinner, or before a drink because they push it, whatever. But it's a good balance. Like, I always have water with my dinner. So if I do have a drink, at least I haven't put that on top of some sugary drink. And then you have alcohol on top of that. Everything costs. They've even hip to that the pop and the drinks are just as expensive as the alcoholic drinks, because they know some people might not want to drink, but they still gonna get that drink money. You know what I'm saying?
That's the mocktail. Right? You still gonna pay. You still might.
Your soda gonna cost you $4.
But understand that, like I said, that the toll on your health, just be aware. Yes. And as you get older, to your point, your body doesn't
tolerate it
or process alcohol as well as it did when you were younger. Right. So you say, you know what? I used to be able to drink, 3 or 4 beers. Now I can only drink 1. Well, that's a real thing. And if you start drinking 3 or 4, you realize, like, whoa, I'm feeling, not the same. I'm talking out. I'm blacking out. And the people black out when they drink too much as well. You don't remember what you did. And obviously you're impaired when you're trying to drive a vehicle. And to your point earlier we have a lot about talking about, drugs and things of that nature, but alcohol is the number one killer when you're talking about driving and what in domestic disputes. You can see alcohol in the center. They would do studies on people in prison and they'd be like, oh my God, why did you get here? Because of drinking. So it becomes a problem.
It's the one. It is the number one. No, it's the number one.
Yeah.
And we don't want to talk about it. Like I said, our government has made us all alcoholics. It's just the same thing. They know how bad it is, but they want to not, regulate weed. And why? Because weed is good for you. No, I'm just kidding.
It's definitely different in its effects for sure. But we're talking about relationships, right? We got about 7-8 minutes here. We're going to talk about relationships when it comes to utilize. But as our key
let's talk about relationships. But before, the key takeaway I think I want to do from the wealth piece is, redirect. It's an opportunity to redirect that spending, right? Mm-hmm. So as we talk about all the money that alcohol costs you, if you just add it up somewhere on a budget and see how much it's really costing you, you can put that into a wellness activity. You can put that into a Tai Chi class. You can just flip that money into something positive that is good for your body. So if you think about, like, I don't want to spend it here, but if you're not spending it there, flip it into something that's good for you. So just kind of change the whole narrative and how you redirect that money.
Small habits make a difference. Like I said, instead of getting that cocktail, get a mocktail.
Get a mocktail.
You start to all right, I understand this is affecting my pocket. Like you're always going to take your loved one out for dinner or something like that. And say, you know what, we're not going to order drinks while we're out, right? So we're just going to have dinner. That way it becomes more affordable. So you can enhance your relationships as we go into a relationship piece. Just understand where alcohol plays a role in your life. And if you're looking to save money, maybe take a look at that, because that could be put into something a better use for yourself. But ultimately, always watch your health. We're not going to, all these things are related to health, the wealth, and now we get into a relationship. What you got on relationships today, Tisa?
Well, relationships, it's key. You can't live with somebody. If anybody's ever lived with an alcoholic parent or sibling, you already know it affects the relationships because it affects your emotions. And if it affects your emotions, it's going to affect your connection and your communication. All that just goes together. So first thing is it affects your connection. Most people who are alcoholic start to be real seclusive. They are somebody hide the drinking because they're drinking way too much, and so they're really drinking all day, and so the behavior starts to change, and so that connection with a spouse or with your family, it starts to disconnect, and so those are actually some signs, right? So when you see somebody in your family disconnecting like that, you know that they drink, but that they're also angry or disconnected or something like that. That's a sign. So kind of pay attention. Maybe ask them some questions, and maybe asking them to seek some help if you start seeing some more of these signs. But it definitely affects your connection and your communication, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Right.
socially, like I said, there's a certain point where you get a social drunk, right? They're happy-go-lucky when you're around them, and then you see the swings when people get angry. But the one that really, I think people need to pay attention to is the functional alcoholic, meaning they're pretty even keel, but they're drinking every day. They
sometimes all day.
They can go to work, they can do certain things, but they are drinking every day. And over time, that's going to break down your health. And then again, if you're drinking every day, you got to add that up. You're like, wow, that's 3, 4, 5, or whatever that is. And then going into those other factors. So from a relationship standpoint, you start to realize, wow, what's it like? There's a stat out that kind of floored me on this. I just didn't know it was that big. They're saying over 12 million children live with a parent who has alcohol use as a disorder. So it's in the house, and now it's normalized, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot, and people that's listening probably have somebody that's grown up with somebody alcoholic in the home. And if it's a parent, it's a bad thing because it really affects your parenting, right? You can't be a good alcoholic parent, right? Somewhere along the line, you're forgetting things. You're not being able to attend events. You're not getting up and really caring for the children. They're caring for themselves because you got hangovers, you're sick, you're just out of it, you're disconnected. The communication is not there, and so the whole parenting thing is affected. Definitely. I really feel for kids who grow up because you end up taking care of yourself. Most of these kids end up raising themselves and really taking care of the parent, right? Because if you're an alcoholic parent, you're sick. It affects your body. You just can't be a healthy, go-lucky alcoholic parent because it affects your body and all those things we talked about earlier in terms of your health. Your kidneys are probably bad. You probably got some things going on with your brain, your hormones, your liver's going bad. All of those things you're in the bathroom. You're throwing up. You're sick. Give me some pictures over there of how some alcoholics look. But you're not. It doesn't make you feel good. So when you're growing up with an alcoholic parent, you actually become the parent. This is a picture of just like one person, like, your spouse is drinking too much and you're trying to talk to them. They're like, look, I ain't got no time to talk about it, whatever. She's like, well, stop sneaking. That's a kind of functioning alcoholic. They start sneaking alcohol, hiding alcohol, drinking before they come in the house, drinking at lunchtime, those kind of things. And so it affects the conflict. Here's another, this is just conflict. She looked like she's an alcoholic. He's like, dude, like, you forgot to take the kids to school today. That's what he looked like. He said, like, no dinner again. Like, what are you doing all day? And she's looking like, leave me the hell alone.
Right.
There's conflict. It brings conflict because things change. You cannot be a well-functioning alcoholic. You really can't be a well-functioning alcoholic. So there's signs. There's, some of those signs, like you said, are they got an increased tolerance to drinking all day. I can't even read those. My little things.
The loss of control. And we're talking about control of your, not only just yourself, your finance, your household. Like those pictures, right. So you're losing control over your household.
Right.
Right. And what keeps your relationship together. You're putting alcohol above, the person that you love the most.
Right.
And those are the things you got to really look at. And if you can't control that, that's when you need to seek some help. You have to come to the situation. So neglecting responsibilities, withdrawal symptoms, that happens a lot. And then we got the drinking as by secret. That's a big thing. If I had a friend of mine that used to do that. I always thought she was drinking water. She was actually drinking vodka. I'm like, whoa.
Checking water bottles.
Yeah. So
really check the water bottles. People sipping on stuff all day long. You don't know what's in their water bottles. Water bottles are a thing, right? Everybody has their own water bottle.
Yeah.
Some are clear, some are not.
No, and so you learn those things, but those are relationship things. And sometimes you have to have an intervention, say something,
Yeah.
and the person maybe they need help. No one's really saying something. So they think it's normal and everybody is great. It's like, no, there's the problem here. We need to talk about it. And there's some
Yeah.
people have heard of Alcohol Anonymous and some other things. I know my brother was a counselor for 20 some odd years in Lincoln, Nebraska at Bryan, and he would tell me, he said, and he dealt with all kinds of people that had drug and alcohol abuse. And he told me, he said, alcohol is the number one problem that they have. Now we're talking young people to old people. Number one, because it's normalized and people just think it's okay when it really isn't. And not only does it affect because you're getting high on it, but the physical effects in your body. It's a physical
effect
problem that you start to stop drinking and you're an alcoholic. It can have really bad after effects that other alcohol
and withdrawal effects
drugs don't have.
And withdrawal effects, just like anything, you're gonna go through some real. Your body is like now purging itself, but that's something that's been addicted to for years. It's a real thing. But I think the main thing is healing begins with self-awareness. So just start taking a little gauge on where you are with your alcohol use and drinking, and just see where you're at. If it makes you, if you be honest, it doesn't make you feel good. It makes you feel good for that moment, but the after effects suck, y'all. I mean, it really does. I've never woke up and said, dang, I drank a lot last night and I feel great. That has never happened. So I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? So if it doesn't give you that, we need to start looking for more of that. Like, that made me feel great. Last night I met with some folks. I had a bunch of mocktails. They were drinking, but today I feel great.
Yeah.
Because I'm not feeling the after effects of the alcohol. So it just starts with self-awareness. I know where my gauge is right now. Like I said, April through the 20th, no drinking for me. No drinking. My little thing is already irritated. So, but let's remember there's help out there, right? So some things to try as we start to wrap up. Some things to try the mocktails. If everybody's ordering a drink, ask if there's any mocktails on the menu, or see if there's any just to kind of start breaking the norm. You're still with the group. You're still ordering a drink. It don't have to be alcohol. So just socialize and just see how that goes. These are things to try. Try to set aside, no alcohol week, no alcohol day if you're a daily drinker. Start small, baby steps, right?
Baby steps.
Find alternative ways of dealing with stress. So like Grant said earlier, most of us drink out of stress. I used to have a fight with my son. The first thing I go do, I take a shot of tequila. I'd be like, dude, you drinking, and I caught myself doing it. I was like, well, damn, what that gonna do? I mean, they gave me that quick little, but that wasn't the answer. So I need to now go take a walk, right? I don't need no shots of tequila. I need to separate, take a walk. So finding alternative ways to deal with stress is key.
100% on all of those things, and being able to wake up in the morning.
People. Don't surround yourself with the alcoholics. Surround yourself with supportive people that are not going to give you a hard time for not drinking, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, just have one. That kind of stuff. Surround yourself with people who are like, cool, don't have a drink. We're cool with that.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the funniest things I ever do is like, you're around people that are drinking and you're not drinking. It's hilarious. So
Right. I'm plugging back in, y'all. Sorry, excuse me. Go ahead. I didn't realize
it is hilarious. So I wanted the key takeaways today. We want to make sure that you have something that you can really sink your teeth into. We want you to understand that we know that over 3 million Black adults had alcohol disorder. That was just in 2024, so it's probably gone up. 22% have binge drinking problems. That's a big. We know that 100,000 cancer cases, there are 20,000 of those are related directly to alcohol. And it's costing the United States about $250 billion a year. And that's a lot of it's tied to binge drinking. And we got to make sure that our children are not growing up with alcoholics. And we know there's over 12 million people that are doing that in our children. And we just need to get an understanding of this and then take a good self-assessment. Like I said, there's no judgment here. It's just a matter of take a look at yourself. Where are you at? How are you living from a health perspective, wealth perspective, your relationships, and then make some better choices.
Put our resources up. I don't want to get away. I want you to be able to take a snapshot. We have resources. There's people out here to help. If you are feeling like you are a little bit out of control, no, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. That's not our list. That's not it.
Oh.
It's got Alcoholics Anonymous on there. It's got the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse. There's an 800 number. So look up your local AA resources. Just type in AA resources or alcohol resources. They're out there. No, you don't got the clip?
No, I don't have that one.
Okay. Anyway, look up your local resource. We always want to leave you resources. You can tap in. We are going to have a spot on the website. So if you go to our Pink Lotus website, you'll see all of our past episodes. We're going to have a folder in where we can have information of all of our shows. So things like this. So you can, if you're like, dang, I wanted those resources, but we didn't have them up. You can go into that folder and find those resources. If there's some recipes we want to put in there, if there's any resources, we want to always leave you with a takeaway and a resource to find something later, because we want to be real helpful. We want to be helpful.
I love that. So we're going to wrap up. Make sure we love your comments. We've seen a lot of people commenting on the show, and that's why we have these types of segments. And then talk about things that don't always get talked about. So let's talk about it, and get it out there.
Let's talk about it. And you ready?
Yes.
Always remember to eat well. And move. We're
going to be moving and grooving. See you next week. Enjoy Easter Sunday. It is tomorrow is Good Friday. We've got Passover going on. So there's a lot of different things. Let's concentrate on these things and really enjoy our
Happy Easter. Be blessed. Be well.
Imagine waking up with more energy, a peaceful mind, and relationships that grow stronger every day. That is the vision Tisa Harden and Grant McGaw want to help you achieve, and it all starts with simple, practical steps you can take this week. On Health, Wealth, and Relationships, every episode brings you real stories and trusted experts. Tisa and Grant focus on 3 tactical steps each week. Small, doable moves that protect your health, grow your savings, and bring you closer to the people you love. No complicated rules, just real progress. Try a clinic-to-kitchen swap to boost your energy. Start a money buffer habit that quietly builds your financial confidence. Or try a 1-minute exercise that helps you reconnect with your partner. These quick wins are not chores. They are steps toward a better life. People who try just one intentional step report more energy, less money stress, and evenings full of laughter again. Join Tisa and Grant. Start small. Live bigger. Tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and subscribe now.